I was born in South India, and where you were born is sacred, important. Now I'm 70, I have a sense of why I was born in South India. And the deepest reason is, I think, that I was meant to uncover and decipher through grace the great mystery of South India. What South India gave me was a template for the birth of an embodied divine humanity. And I'd chosen these particular sites in a particular order so that anyone who comes on this trip with an open mind and open soul will experience from different sides this template and realize that, terrifying though the events of our time are, there is a way through. And that way through has been known by the great mystics of South India. There's something in the land itself and in the great mystical traditions that have flowered in this land and in the passion of the Tamils for God that has kept vibrant and alive this dynamic, evolutionary vision of infinite possibility that I think is absolutely essential now for the future of the planet. In many ways, South India is the last great intact mystical culture.
If there's anybody who could give a tour that was curated as a pilgrimage, it would be Andrew.
I am 72 years old, and I have been waiting my entire life to come to India. But I didn't want to come unless I came with the proper teacher. With Andrew Harvey, who grew up here, I chose this trip, and I'm so grateful that I did.
You know, the trip's more than just seeing Southern India. Southern India is a scene. It's a setting to encounter the sacred in a very real way. In a culture so different than our own, it's refreshing to see how they've come to worship God and understand their lives in relationship to God.
We start in Mahabalipuram because, for very strange reasons, Mahabalipuram has been the center of my mystical life. I've never really understood it, except that I feel I must have had some kind of past life link with the Pallavas that created Mahabalipuram. In the rock temples of Mahabalipuram, the great enlightened Pallava kings showed us the golden leaves carved out of golden rock of the golden book of an embodied divine humanity, showed us, especially in the great sculpture of the rock of the descent of the Ganges, what a completely integrated divine humanity would look like and how it would be related to the whole creation in great joy and great sacred responsibility. From that ancient vision of the integration of humanity with the cosmos, directly to Puducherry, where the greatest evolutionary philosopher of all time, Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo, worked out with the mother in meticulous scientific detail by living it himself, the stupendous birth that I believe is the real deep meaning of the mystical crisis that we're going through. In going to Aurobindo's tomb and really experiencing the vast dynamic peace that radiates from that tomb, and in plunging into some of the major aspects of Aurobindo's absolutely revelatory philosophy, those who take the trip are given a direct sense of how the vision that exploded with such simple, powerful grace in Mahabalipuram lived on and then was reimagined and reinterpreted at the highest intellectual and spiritual level by Aurobindo for our time. And that prepares everyone for the central crown jewel, in a sense, of the whole journey, where we go to the place where Shiva the dancer has been worshipped with infinite passion for 1,400 years, Chidambaram. And we experience the wild, gorgeous passion of the rituals that celebrate the golden dancer in the heart of the temple, the tiny heart, the Chitsava, where the most sacred image of Shiva in India in many ways resides. So that gives people a direct initiation into God as the dynamic dancer of evolution. And after reeling out of Chidambaram, we visit a culture in which enlightened kings who identified with Shiva Nataraja and the Golden One created a golden world, Tanjore, especially the temple and the Chola bronzes. The great temple of Thanjore, which is unique in India, is in the very stone from which it's created and with the coherence and majesty with which its architecture radiates, is itself a representation of the divine human. When you enter into that vast temple, you're not just entering into a place which celebrates the divine with unbelievable intensity, you're entering into a place which is organized as a living initiation into your own divine capacity and possibility. And in the Chola bronzes, I've tried to help people see you have an artistic representation of infinite grace and elegance, the greatest we've ever been given, of what the divine human is. So Tanjore grounds and expands and makes palpable through the stupendous illumined art of the Cholas this ancestral evolutionary vision. And then we go to the ashram of Father Bede. Father Bede Griffiths was my soul's father, my beloved, and the being who completely changed my life, because he led me back to authentic Christianity and showed me in his own living example that the core message of Christ is not about adoring Christ as the Son of God and thinking of yourself as a pathetic worm that needs constant grace to evolve, but that the authentic message was that Jesus came to announce to us our own divinity and show us the way to it. And show us the way not just to experiencing divine consciousness, but to experiencing what Father Bede was experiencing when I knew him, because he told me about it. The living transfiguration process, the turning to gold, that Tirumala had celebrated, that Aurobindo had celebrated, that the great sculptors of Mahabalipuram had represented. We end the trip at the sacred mountain, Arunachala, where the greatest Indian sage for the last 1,000 years in many ways, Ramana Maharshi, lived out his completely simple and completely extraordinary life. My experience of Ramana is twofold. On the one hand, he gives the peace beyond understanding, which comes from total realization of the transcendent self. And the other is that for those who have the eyes to see, Ramana is himself a divine human being, the sign that such a majestic transfiguration is possible, because he lived in the body and radiated this grace for 70 years, 50 years of which he was enlightened and transforming the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, and that he continues to do that great, nameless, wordless work of transmutation everywhere. And I end the journey here because I'm so aware that people who've been on this journey have been shaken up in the most glorious ways. They've been through these multiple initiations from all sides. But here, in the silence of Ramana, in the silence of Tiruvannamalai, in the absolute dynamic peace that the mountain radiates, they can experience the grace which begins to align all the experiences that they've been through and make them start to activate a great transformation that will continue when they return, when we return to the wild, wild West. And it's the most important journey I ever could take people on. And it's been the central journey of my life, a journey I've done again and again and again, like a pianist that plays the Bach fugues again and again and again, because I know it contains the secret of everything. And as I grow older, it becomes more amazing, more profound. And I really believe that anyone who comes on this journey with an open heart will receive information and divine grace and very helpful illumined concepts that will enable them to participate in this birth that's happening in the middle of the death. In a time of horror, we need to be able to celebrate with total abandon our lives, the nature of the soul, the nature of our divine identity, the great gift that we've been given as human beings to evolve beyond our wildest imagination through grace. So the great antidote to the vast no that is erupting in danger and horror all over the planet is the vast yes that was born here in South India and still is so unbelievably alive. And it's to experience and soak in the golden waters of that great yes that I've invited people on this trip and will continue to so long as I'm alive.